Hello the internet, hope you're all well, thanks for stopping by. I have a consumer test and review for you today and I'm looking at this, the Shark PowerPro Pet Cordless Vacuum Cleaner. And before I go any further, I'd like to say to Shark, please can you change your current naming formats because they are incredibly difficult to get right. I've got 3 Shark cordless vacuum cleaners here, plus another product that I tested only a couple of days ago, the Shark Flex Breeze Hydro Go battery powered cordless fan. It's very difficult to do these videos in one take because these names are so incredibly long. This one is the PowerPro Pet. This one here, which I tested a year and a half ago, is the Shark Detect Pro Cordless Vacuum Cleaner, and this one here is the Shark Stratos Cordless Stick Vacuum Cleaner Pet Pro with Anti-Hair Wrap Plus. Yes, indeed. Anyway, if you want to check them out, these are my previous reviews of these vacuum cleaners. This is the Shark Stratos twin battery model, which I purchased myself in November 2022, and it's been absolutely wonderful. It was an awful lot of money, but I can't recommend it highly enough, but I do suggest going for the twin battery model. This is the Shark Detect Pro model, which was provided to me by Amazon as part of their Vine testing program. This was back in October 2023, and while I really like the vacuum cleaner itself, it's very lightweight and easy to operate, the battery, which was rated for 60 minutes, doesn't last anything like as long as that, which is what it leads me to have a few concerns about the new vacuum cleaner that's come via Shark, because that's only rated for 50 minutes, and it does look like a more substantial vacuum cleaner, so I'm not expecting it to last anything like as long as the 50-minute claim there. Now, for your information, the Amazon Vine testing program is an invite-only program where Amazon send out products to trusted reviewers such as myself so they can be sure that the review is genuine rather than a load of bots somewhere. I myself have been testing products for Amazon for over 20 years, very nearly 25 years, and I've done over 1,000 product reviews for them. I get the product sent to me from Amazon. I have no contact whatsoever with the manufacturer, in this case Shark. They have no way of leveraging any kind of influence on my reviews. I'm not paid for the review. I don't pay for the product, so I've got no vested interest one way or another in it, and if it's a bad product or a good product, I will tell you so. So this is the main body of the vacuum cleaner. I'm trying to move away from the camera so you can see it all. It folds away into this this position for storage, which is quite nice. The Stratos does the same thing. The Detect Pro isn't quite so good as a storeway sort of thing. It's I never really quite like that. It doesn't quite do it for me, that. But that is nice. That is nice and compact, and it has a couple of little clip buttons here. So that one there will fold it up like that, and it's also how you go about bending it around to get under certain objects like that. So if you're vacuuming, that will get under the table, under the chairs and things like that. This bit, the head, you click that, and that is your main body. That is where your motor is kept, and the garbage bin there. Now this all comes apart, so you've got filters in there which will need cleaning. It's amazing how quickly these filters get clogged up, and I'll show you how to do that in a moment. That is the release button for getting out the grub. So click that forward, empty it into your bin there. The filter though is in this section here, so you've got a button that's there, and that will take off that. That's the main filter in there. Then you pull that out of there. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze, but that is the motor that's tucked away inside of there. So make sure you put that back in there before you start it. Make sure that's in. Yep, that's in. And then the bin fits on top like so. There you go. It's quite a lightweight thing, that is. It's lighter than the motor on the Stratos, but not quite as light as the one on the, because it's a stick vacuum, that is. It's a very lightweight vacuum. And this is something I did with the Stratos. You may have missed where one of the filters are. These things can get clogged up if you don't clean out the filter often enough. So you've got the filter that's in there. Make sure you tap that onto the bin occasionally. But I forget about these ones here. And there's 2 filters here. So you've got a sort of a cotton fibre one in there, but you've also got this soft sponge, and that's the one that gets clogged up. So make sure you do that on the side of your wheelie bin. That gets all the dust out. So make sure that gets cleaned quite regularly. And I'm talking every few weeks, because they really do get clogged up, these things do. But that then goes back on there. So that's your main body. And then this is the main attachment. The head of it attaches there, so you can swap that around for whichever attachment you want. That's the smaller one there. You've got the hard to reach nozzle thing there, which is one of my most used ones out of all of them. But the main body there, that one It opens up very easily, so you don't need to use your foot to open it up like you do on the Stratos. That one does open up quite easily there. The spinning blades there, it's a combination of brush and a I assume that's like a nylon blade, which is supposed to get up the pet hair efficiently. Now, I'm interested to see how well it does, because we do have a border collie, and the border collie does molt everywhere, and that is why I really do adore the Stratos. The Stratos has been absolutely fantastic. Our dog's hair absolutely killed our previous vacuum. We had 2 Dysons in fact, and one of them was actually their pet variant, and it just got wiped out by our dog. But this has lasted 2.5 years and has been absolutely fantastic. How this will fare, not too sure. It does have pet in the title. It is targeted at pets, unlike the Detect Pro. That one wasn't targeted at pets, but this one apparently is. So I want to see how it gets on. So it's going to be going really up against the Stratos. Now, Shark do make it easy to clean. So if you do get dog hair or even human hair wrapped around it, then you can easily remove the blade roller, clean it out, and then slide it back into there just like that. That's pretty straightforward, so I'm hoping that our dog hair doesn't clog this up too much. It should be pretty easy to clean out. I'm going to put the battery on charge, and then I'm going to spend a week, maybe 2 weeks, giving the house a thorough clean. I shall benchmark it against the Stratos to see how it gets on. Most importantly though, I am looking forward to seeing how the battery gets on, how well it lasts. It's a 50-minute rated battery at the lowest level. Now that's going to be interesting to see how it goes on. Now this one has got a button you cycle through the power. On this one, I've noticed you've got a trigger. You turn it on with the on and off button there, but when you want to put it onto maximum mode, you press that. Now I'm interested to see how that works, because I mean, I don't know about you, but whenever I vacuum, I just stick it onto full power anyway. And it's only when I go across rugs or hard surfaces, maybe I'll change the setting, and that's pretty easy to do on there because it's on the handle. Whereas with this, if you want it on full power the whole time, you've got to physically hold that. There's no it's like a dead man finger thing. There's no lock-in button to keep that on full power. I'm not sure if I'm going to like that or not, but we'll see how we get on. I'll try it over the next week or two, see how it fares against the Stratos. I'm pretty sure it's going to beat the Detect Pro, because like I say, it was a nice vacuum, but it just wasn't powerful enough for me. So we'll see how we get on. The battery, I struggle to think it's going to last very long. At full whack, I'm guessing 10 minutes. 10 minutes with our dog hair riddled carpets. Well, let's see how we get on. I'll catch you in a bit. Okay, so let's get into it. This was me using the vacuum cleaner for the very first time. I did a complete vacuum of the upstairs and the downstairs of my house, and immediately I felt very much at home with this vacuum cleaner, because it feels extremely similar to the Shark Stratos that I've had for 2.5 years now. It's got a very similar weight to it, very similar articulation to it, so even though it has got quite a bit more weight than the Detect Pro model, it's very manoeuvrable. It can really get into all the awkward spaces. It's really quite good to use actually. But it also then means it's directly up against the Stratos. If it feels the same, I'm wanting it to perform the same. It has a very similar sensor for changing the power output required. So when it goes over this mat, for example, it changes its power requirement. But if you need a bit of extra power and it doesn't change automatically, then you pull the trigger and it goes into turbo mode, let's call it. Personally, I didn't particularly like that. I don't like having to hold down the trigger to keep it on full power. That said, it does encourage you to prolong the battery by being a bit more conservative with the power usage. That said, even on turbo mode, this vacuum cleaner really struggled with this mat I've got by the patio door. It's quite a thick pile to it, and it made the vacuum cleaner stop working entirely. The head just refused to run until I turned it off and turned it back on again. But that issue aside, it's actually a pretty decent head. It's articulated, it's very manoeuvrable, gets underneath the dining room table and chairs very easily. Now, I didn't really use the bending arm function very much, but then it's really quite a low profile vacuum anyway, so I didn't find the need to do that. This is one of the smaller alternative head attachments which you use for cleaning the stairs, for example. As an aside, these things are really good for cleaning stairs because they've become so much more manoeuvrable items when you just take the bottom bit off and use the motor motor with a smaller attachment. They are really, really good. This is on a harder surface like the bathroom, picks up all the hair and God knows what else that you'd get in the bathroom. And one of the things I look for in a vacuum cleaner is the manoeuvrability of it, because our house isn't laid out in the way that most people's house are. This is the small room that I'm talking to you in now. This is my office, where I do my YouTube videos. This is my wife's art and craft studio, which is actually the master bedroom, if you want to call it that. It's the biggest room in the house, but it's always full of all kinds of bits on the floor, all kinds of paper cuttings and paint splatters and all sorts of things. And this is the bedroom. I just want it to be a manoeuvrable item, and this is where the Shark vacuum cleaners I've found to be really, really good. But what about the things that aren't so good? I don't like the fact that you can't see the battery indicator unless you turn the vacuum on its side. You can't see it from your normal vacuuming position. The Shark Stratos, the display is front and centre. It's right in front of you. It tells you what the battery power currently is doing. It's right there. The button is easy to use on that one. It's a different type of button. It's a soft touch button, unlike a physical hard button. And you cycle through the different power styles. Here, you press that button, it goes to eco mode, that leaf. Press it again, it goes to turbo mode, and it stays on. And then you press it again, and it goes into this clean sense mode, where it alternates the power accordingly, automatically. On this machine, you've only got the one button. You press it, turn it on, and that's it. It will automatically detect the surfaces and it will change its power accordingly. But if you want to go to turbo mode, you've got this dead man's finger, as I keep referring to it as. So while it's incredibly similar in appearance to the Shark Stratos, it actually operates very, very differently. And I'll be perfectly honest, I do prefer the older Shark Stratos design. And another thing I wasn't so impressed with was how well it dealt with hair, and not just pet hair, because it was meant to deal with pet hair, it's in the title. But I'll come on to that in a moment. But no, it's actually my wife's hair. My wife's got really, really long hair. It comes down to her lower back, and it does get everywhere. And I found that the head on this particular Shark model really struggled with her hair. It was always getting wrapped up in the blade, as you can see in this video here. It just got wrapped up here. Now, although it's great that you can release this out and clean it quite easily, it was still something I had to do really quite regularly. And as that gets wrapped up, it then attracts more dog hair as well, and that all just clogs together. I found myself cleaning that out quite often. Now, let's compare that to the Stratos, which, as I've said, I've had this 2.5 years, and I have never once, ever, cleaned that out. Not once. I'm not even sure, does it actually even come out? I think it does actually come out, but I've never taken that out of there. I mean, it gets a bit mucky there, but the actual blade itself, never once cleaned that out. And that, again, extols the virtue of how good that is compared to this particular vacuum. Which leads me on to this. Now, this is me finishing vacuuming the downstairs of the house. So I'd cleaned 2 carpets, the living room and the dining room and this sun lounge extension here, and also the kitchen and the hall, which are parquet and vinyl floors. But straight after I did it, literally straight after, I thought, right, I'm going to go around with my Stratos. So here you go, it's absolutely empty, and I'm going to do only the carpets this time. I'm going to do the living room and the dining room and this sun lounge extension, this tiny little thing here, and see what it's missed. See if I pick up any more with the Stratos that I didn't get with the PowerPro Pet. And I'm going to be honest, I was a little bit disappointed here, because while I was expecting there to be at least a little bit more that the Stratos picked up, that's a surprising amount that the Stratos picked up immediately after the PowerPro Pet had just been round. I mean, that's quite a bit of dog hair and human hair and dust that it's missed. That's just 2 carpets, living room, dining room and this sun lounge extension thing, and it missed all that from, what, 4 or 5 minutes worth of vacuuming. Not particularly good, that. Now, this is the emptying of the bin. You release that blue lever there, and this is what all comes out. This was just the downstairs of my house. People think I'm making this up. This is from a week's worth of cleaning. I only clean on a Friday, and in fact, this was only 6 days because I did this particular test on the Thursday. So there's 6 days of dust and dog hair that has come down in our house. Totally genuine, and that was the upstairs. So 2 whole buckets to clean the entire house. Yeah, that's a lot of crud that comes out of our house. Okay, the big one though. Does it really last 50 minutes as claimed by Shark? Well, I had my stopwatch running the whole time I had the power on for the vacuum. I was running my stopwatch to see what it could really do. Now, I guessed at around about 10 minutes because it's a bigger vacuum than the Detect Pro, but actually it got 23 minutes out of it, which I was actually quite impressed with. I mean, nothing like what the manufacturer claims, but not too bad. So then, how well does it actually clean? Now, you've seen that the Stratos does a better job, but even after the Stratos has vacuumed, this is what I still scrape up. I've got one of these tool scraper things which are great for scraping up dog hair. These are fantastic, but that's just from a very small area. I'm not staging anything here. I'm just running the scraper over the carpet, only where you see, and this is directly after I'd done the vacuuming. And this is how much dog hair I pulled up straight away. And I know people are disgusted by this. I've seen comments on previous videos, but for me, it's a small price to pay for the pleasure of living with a border collie. So what do I think of the Shark PowerPro Pet model, other than the name, of course? Well, unfortunately, for this vacuum cleaner, the Stratos exists, and my view has kind of been tainted as to what a cordless vacuum cleaner can achieve, because I've lived with that for 2.5 years and it's been a fantastic vacuum cleaner. In isolation, if I forget this exists for a moment, in isolation it is a very competent vacuum cleaner. It's done the job pretty well. It's, as we've seen in the video, it didn't clean quite as well as I thought it had cleaned it. Everything looked clean, but when I went around again with the Stratos, it clearly missed a few things. In profile, you look at them side by side, they're very similar looking machines. They pack themselves away very, very similarly. They've got very similar storage capacity in the bins there, which they're not particularly big bins. I said that about the Stratos previously, that you get into a habit of you'll vacuum downstairs, then you'll empty it out into the wheelie bin before you move upstairs, and then you'll empty it out when you've finished the upstairs as well. It'll do 2 empties for an entire house clean. That's what you'll need. You'll just get used to that. The battery life of it, actually relatively impressive. I was genuinely thinking it was only going to last 10 to 15 minutes based on what Shark said it would last, saying 50 minutes, and what I'd experienced with that particular one, the Detect Pro and the Stratos. I thought it's going to struggle to do more than 10 to 15 minutes because it's rated for 50 minutes, and it's a bigger, more powerful device than the Detect Pro, and that struggles for much more than 10 minutes. It's on its backside. But I was really quite surprised with that. It lasted 23 minutes with a very good varied vacuum. That was across some deep piled carpets, hard vinyl floors, parquet floors, bathroom tile floors, did the stairs. It had a good range of things to do, a little occasional use of the turbo dead man's trigger, as I call it. I was quite impressed with that. The problem is you're still limited to the fact that it's brand new battery. 23 minutes is its very best it's ever going to achieve, and you only got a single battery. And that, I always do recommend, if a double battery is available within your budget, go for the double battery. It gets rid of all the range anxiety like you get with the EV that's parked on my drive down there. Because you've got the second battery to fall back on, spot on. If you've got a house, I mean, this is a 3-bedroom detached house, so it's a moderate sized house, and this one, on a single battery, it would always conk out in the final room that I did. As I worked through the house, it go up to the bedroom, and it would always conk out in the bedroom. So I need the second battery for that. If I only got one battery, I'm starting to get range anxiety. I'm waiting for it to conk out at any moment. And as that gets older, the battery's only going to degrade. So I struggle to really justify that one. I think the battery is not quite enough for me. If you've got a really small house, then it's probably not such an issue. Weight-wise, the weight of it's really quite good, actually, considering the size of it. It's definitely lighter than the old Stratos, but nowhere near as light as the Detect Pro. That is a proper stick vacuum. In fact, it's the only reason why I would in any way recommend the Detect Pro, because it's so lightweight. I recommend it for if you're in any way infirm or elderly. It is a much easier vacuum to wander around with. But other than that, there's no other reason why I would justify it, because the price of it is ridiculously high compared to the other vacuum cleaners, and the battery doesn't last even a fraction of what these do. So let's take that one out of the equation. But if I'm looking at that, yes, it's a little bit cheaper, but it's going, look at the size of it, it's going head to head quite literally with the Stratos. Now, looking at prices, the Detect Pro is currently on Shark's website at $349.99, £350 for that. Now, I said a year ago I couldn't justify that price, and I would struggle to recommend it at half of that price, and that still holds true. The PowerPro Pet, currently on their website, on offer at £190. The RRP of that is £280. but on offer at the moment at £190. The Stratos, that is currently on offer at £300, should be £450. So you're getting £150 off of that, and you're getting £90 off of that at the moment. That puts me into a bit of a quandary. Would I pay £450 for that? Now, I didn't pay £450 for it when it first came out. I got this weeks after it originally came out, and it came out on a Black Friday deal actually, and I snapped it straight up. And if I had my decision again, if I had to buy another vacuum cleaner, I would have that straight away. But would I pay £450 for it? Because it's a lot more than what I paid for it 2.5 years ago. Struggle to recommend £450 for any vacuum cleaner, but if I was going to pay that, it would be that vacuum cleaner. £300, absolute slam dunk. And because that is available right now at £300, I don't think there's any price I would pay for this particular model, because I know that is such a good vacuum cleaner. I struggle to recommend that. Certainly can't recommend it at £280, and even at £190, I would genuinely rather pay £110 more for that right at the moment than that, because I know the twin battery is a great function. That is really, really good. But the roller, that's a bit of a showstopper for me. For that particular vacuum, for the fact that in 2.5 years I've never once cleaned that roller out. I've showed it to you. It's still clean now. Yet twice in the very first time I went vacuuming with that, I was having to pull out the blade roller thing and unwrap the hair. That's unacceptable. For a vacuum cleaner that is advertised as being for pets, and by extension wives with long hair, for it to require unwrapping the hair, that's a showstopper for me. So for my purposes, that automatically takes that out of the running. But for your purposes, if you've got a modest size house, the battery should be good enough for you at the moment. Over time it's going to degrade. You've seen on the video that battery after 2.5 years, even when fully charged, it only goes to 70%. So you're already going to be losing 30% of your charge after 2.5 years. You've got to assume that will be the case for that. So let's take off 30% of 23 minutes. You're already below 20 minutes. Can you clean your house in 20 minutes on a single charge? You've got to ask yourself that. The bin is easy to empty. The filters are relatively easy to clean out as well. Like I said earlier on in the video, do make sure you familiarise yourself with it, but it's generally quite easy to clean out. And here's something I don't like. You've got 3 different Shark models, 3 vacuum cleaners, all from the same manufacturer, and they all use different attachments. That attachment and that attachment come from that, but they are not compatible with the Stratos or the Detect Pro. That's wasteful in my eyes. And also another thing, the batteries, they're incompatible with each other. This is the battery for the Detect Pro, you've got the battery here for the PowerPro Pet, and then you've got the battery here for the Stratos. 3 completely different batteries, 3 completely different chargers. Why? If I was to give this a 5-star rating, I would give that a 3.5 star. I would give that as close to 5 stars as I could possibly give it. It's still a lot of money on RRP. I think I gave it probably about 4.5 stars a few years ago. And if anything, my appreciation of it has grown over the fact that it has shown itself to be such a competent vacuum cleaner. If you have the resources to spend that kind of money on a vacuum cleaner, I really would recommend the Stratos. More of a grey area whether I can recommend that. It's a bit more in the balance as to whether your house is small enough and whether you can tolerate the fact that it's not going to clean as well as that. I've demonstrated that cleans the carpet much better than that does. So, from my point of view, 3.5 stars if I'm giving it a 5-star review. That's as close to 5 stars as I could possibly ever give anything. That's probably a 2-star review, the Detect Pro. I don't recommend that, just ignore that one completely. So, there you go. That is the Shark PowerPro Pet Cordless Vacuum Cleaner. I really do wish they'd change that name. Hope this video has been useful to you. If it has, do consider a comment, a like, and maybe even a subscribe, and I shall catch you on the next video. So take it easy.